Hello, everyone, and welcome back to This Day in History, our nightly look back at a specific day in history, where we take a look at a specific day in history and examine the events of that day, the historical context in which the events occurred, and the historical ramifications of those events. As always, if you have not yet, please hit the subscribe button, the bell notification icon to be alerted anytime I post new content, and tell a friend. And without any further ado, this day in history, March 3rd. And on this day, in 1849, the territory of Minnesota would be established. The territory would later go on to achieve statehood a little over 9 years later in 1858. It was carved out of the Iowa Territory and contained parts of the Dakota Territories, the future Dakota Territories. East of the Missouri River, that were east of the Missouri River. It would contain parts of the Wisconsin Territory that did not become part of Wisconsin, in between the Mississippi River and Wisconsin. There were three white settlements at the time, major white settlements, and power was divided up between these three settlements to make the inhabitants happy. St. Paul, which would become the territorial and future state capital. Minneapolis, which was to be home of the University of Minnesota. And Stillwater, which would become home of the Minnesota Territorial Prison and future Minnesota State Prison. So you had three big things that were given to these communities. You had the state capital, the university, and the prison, and these are big things. So they were happy. I don't know if now you were organizing a place and they said, you know what, we're going to give you, to make you happy, to give you power and prestige, we're going to give you the prison. Just saying. Different times. Interesting to look at how American history and places grew up, and what was given in exchange for compliance. Some births that occurred on this day. In 1949, Rhonda Turnout was born. Chernow is a biographer of note in the United States. He has won multiple awards for his works and been nominated for multiple works. He won the 2011 Pulitzer and American History Book Award for his 2010 work on President Washington. A good book on George Washington, one of the better books written on Washington that I've read. There's thousands of books on George Washington out there that run the gamut. Some of them are really exceptional. Some of them are trash. Chernow's is by far one of the better ones. It is up there with some of the earlier works on Washington. I cannot recommend it enough. And he won a National Book Award in the category of nonfiction in 1991 for his work on House of Morgan, which is about the Morgan family of J.D. Morgan. Others, as I have said, have been received nominations for book awards. Although I would say most Americans, although they may not realize it, his most famous work is on Alexander Hamilton, and it served as the basis for the musical Hamilton, and really, I mean, it's a Broadway smash hit. I mean, tickets to Hamilton are prized, and it's won numerous awards. The play has. So, Chernow serves as a historical consultant on the play. and according to press accounts, receives 1% of royalties from the play, and that may not seem like much in the grand scheme of things, but I read an article from 2017 that said that amounted the prior year, 2016, to $900,000 for just basically being a consultant on the play. He wrote the book and gets to go to the play for free. He wrote a 2017 biography on Ulysses S. Grant. That was a tremendous work that helps argue against the notion that Grant was an adequate president, a dull companion, and a roaring drunk. It argues that Grant was actually a really good president, was a lively person, and most importantly, was not the roaring drunk that history has painted him with. Now, it argues that that Grant did have problems with alcohol. It argues that. I mean, it lays that out. But it argues against this notion that that's all that the man was. It goes into great detail and dispels why this is really a myth. It's great work. I listened to it on Audible over the summer, and was very impressed with the work. It's great book. Cannot recommend that enough. It's just, if I had to write like 10 books that I was going to recommend to someone from the past 3 years that I've listened to on Audible, that one would be on there. It definitely would. Deaths that occurred on this day. Fred Friendly died in 1998 at the age of 82 in the Bronx. Friendly was president of CBS News. He was later a professor of journalism at Columbia and helped develop the concept of public access TV channels. Friendly would leave CBS News after, instead of airing Senate hearings on U.S. involvement in Vietnam, they aired an episode of The Lucy Show. And he saw this as an affront to their mission at CBS and resigned. Friendly was very outspoken in his political views. He was a progressive, and Richard Nixon was no fan of his. But yeah, I will let y'all discern that. I hope y'all have a great day and have a great night.